Hello, and welcome to Season 4 of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast for one experienced Dungeon Master and one failed scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and my ridiculously inadequate pod partner is Lewis McCaffery. Hello, Lewis.
Hello, you've not pointed me me in a while. It took... What's going on? It took me by surprise.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to point at you too much because then you'll think I have feelings for you.
Yeah.
And I like to keep you at a distance. You're not at a playground where you're mean on purpose.
Yeah, okay, so you're mean to me because you like me.
I'm playing the long game.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, as long as you're cock, which means I'm playing the short game.
So I'd say average.
I'm going to jail.
Playing the average game.
Yeah. So we are doing the DM season.
Yes.
I say this week.
This week?
This season, it's DM season, new DMs mostly.
To be fair, it's this week as well.
Yeah, we've already had people, well, way before this episode comes out, the first episode released, and they were like, I've been playing for years, really appreciate it. So it's good to know that we're doing something, even for people who are seasoned, can still learn something. And it's more about not learning the rules, like in all D&D aspects we talk about. It's like seeing a different perspective.
Exactly.
So that's cool.
Listening to two people so autistic, we know all the shitty details.
If only the world leaders thought of listening to each other rather than whipping their big old dick around.
I mean, I love both, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
sometimes you got to skip.
Yeah.
You got to skip the big old dick.
Yeah. I mean, no, you never skip
when it's whipping.
You never skip the big old dick.
When it's whipping, I'll be skipping. So...
Oh no.
Can you guess what this week's episode's about? Do you want to?
No.
Can you tell what it is yet?
Sexual assault?
Can't say that one anymore. Sexual assault? No, thank God not. It's running combat. Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is how to run combat as a first-time DM. We have covered combat before in the podcast, but I think we could get into how a new DM can make sure that everyone, including themselves, have fun doing it. I don't know about you. This isn't written down, but I wrote that, and I was going to put like a funny quip at the end, and I didn't. Okay. And now on the spot, I'm thinking we have written about it before.
Yeah.
We talked about it before.
We have.
But not everyone has fun doing it.
No.
Which is funny because I don't think anyone likes losing in a fight.
No, especially not Dwayne Johnson.
No. So how can we, maybe we get an improvised question in there of how we, if you lose, how can you make it fun?
Oh, if you lose a fight?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, promise them a good suck at the end of it. I don't know if they lose. No, indeed, if you're going to...
I'm not even answering.
That's fine.
We've just spent 2.5 minutes talking about cock, basically.
Yeah.
And we're not gay.
No. Are we not? Anyway, no, if you're going to make combat fun, even if they lose, do it in a way that gives them a driving force after it. So I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode, but let's say you start a campaign, 2 sessions in, your party at level 1 or 2 encounter the BBG and get their asses kicked.
They didn't walk away, they attempted to fight it.
Yeah, and they got battered. They lost that fight, they're about to die, but the BBG thinks they're not worth it, and it's like, you know what, fuck off, I'm going.
Yeah.
They've
Same
lost
as my dad.
Exactly, same. They've lost that fight, but it gives them a reason to get up and carry on. They may have lost all their equipment, lost all the gold, whatever it is, but they have a reason to build themselves up again to kill that fucker.
Yes, it's the opening to every anime ever.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's one way you can do it anyway. How would you do it? Make losing combat fun, or would you just tell them to get over it?
No, I think that's a good way of going about it. I think how we've done it before is I kill off an NPC.
Yeah.
And I know you've done that. You kill off an NPC and they go, holy shit, we're not winning this. And that in itself is a loss because you've retreated.
Yep.
And that's also cool that you know what's coming up, I think, and what can be possible against this person. We're not actually getting into the questions yet.
No, we're not.
We'll get into the mad question first, the unhinged question.
Oh, yeah.
Lewis, I've started a fight with a red dragon because I'm colourblind. What dragon was I meant to start a fight with and why?
You were probably meant to start a fight with a white dragon because white dragons are typically, I believe, good alignments. So you tried that thinking it wouldn't fight back too much, and then you went for a red one instead because you're a fucking muppet.
Yes, a fucking idiot, as one would say.
Yes. Or you thought it was a kobold, but you're also not only colourblind, you have no depth perception, so you're just blind.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a cabbage.
Yeah.
Okay, important questions. What are the basics needed for a first-time DM to run combat?
So I think obviously we've said before, basic understanding of the rules in terms of what players can do on an action, bonus action, and reaction.
We have those episodes. Go check them out.
Yep.
They weren't long ago. Actually, at the point of this release, they would have been a good few months. But check them out. Season 2 or 3? Season 2.
Season 2.
I'm looking over there because we have a whiteboard full of our topics.
We do. But yes. Oh yeah, this. So I have a basic understanding of that. Get something you can use as a map, I'd say, and a battle map. It can literally just be a white piece of paper that you've drawn lines on.
At least to start out,
Yeah.
have some kind of tool to work with. Because it's quite likely, as we spoke about at the beginning of the season, the people you're DMing for are also new. And it helps them to kind of visually understand what's going
if you can see what's actually happening, see that there's 10 feet that character has to move, they can just do it and you can understand it better, and you can then see, actually, if an NPC runs away, will they get an attack of opportunity? It's things like that. But also have a basic understanding of your players' characters. So what I like doing is, for characters whenever I DM a campaign, is have a little tab or a note that says their passive perception, their armor class, usually their level or hit points, or just those general information, and any conditions they have, because it just helps you smooth things along a little bit. You can see their AC, see whether an enemy has hit, that kind of thing. And yeah, I'd say that's basic. That's pretty much the basics. And obviously whatever creatures you're controlling or DMing, know what they are.
So, to go on from that one, is improvising okay?
Yes.
I would say yes, because, for instance, if the creature happens to be more powerful than you thought, or say the players aren't experienced enough to know how to deal with it when you already know they could, it's okay to lower the stats of that creature, regardless if it's an official, like, monster manual enemy.
Yeah.
Improvise as you go. It's okay to fudge the dice and make it plausible. They don't have to win, but you shouldn't be in the game of trying to make them lose.
No, and especially for new time DMs, because it's all well and good us saying that you can just improvise it, you can change bits as you want. If you don't know what you're changing, guess. Don't always let your players know. Try and make it not so obvious. But let's say you create a monster, you use a monster that you think is strong enough to survive for a bit, but not too strong to just wipe your party out.
Yeah.
For example, the CR ratings, especially in 5e, can be confusing. So you may pick a CR 4 monster because you've got 4 level 1 players. That'd probably batter them.
Yeah.
So if you do something like that, you can easily add some kind of a weakness. Maybe it doesn't like rain and it starts raining, you know what I mean? Or maybe it does a lot of damage for its first few hits, but then it can't attack for 2 turns. It needs to retreat and get its energy back. Whatever you want to add to it, as long as you can explain it in the game, then it's fine. Then just try and keep it balanced but fun.
Yeah. Our next question kind of covers what you just said then as well, by chance. How to understand enemy challenge ratings.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this, because I find it quite confusing, and people do, especially from handbook to handbook. But I do have my own way of how I do it. Oh. So if you do have the official way, that would be helpful.
I don't know the official off the top of my head, only because I don't use it. It's the kind of thing,
which is pretty normal, to be honest.
Yeah, so let's say you've got a party of 4 players and they're all level 5. Then they are expecting, I think this might be official, I don't know, don't quote me. I think that they're expected to fight 2 or 3 CR5 creatures every long rest.
Right.
So the reason it does it that way is because they can probably easily take out the first CR5, and then they encounter another and they realise, okay, we used a few spell slots, my health's 2/3 of the way, I'm pretty fine with that. They take that one out, take a bit of damage, but they can still keep going, and then they face a third and they think, fuck, I'm almost out of spell slots, I'm on 20% hit points, that kind of thing. We need to be careful about this, and that's where it can be dangerous.
Okay.
So that's the idea. But the reason I don't use that personally is because I'm not purposely including a CR5, 3 CRs that match their level every session just so that happens. So maybe I'll do 8 different enemies, but all of them are CR2. Or I'll do one enemy that's CR8. It's like a lot. It's very difficult. It's something like that. It's just a way to balance it out so that it's not just a repetitive cycle of 3 combats a day, but you can make it fun,
right,
in some other way.
My way of doing it, like all things in D&D where I'm just winging it, is I will say there's an enemy coming up.
Yeah.
I will build that stat block based on something, and we've actually already talked about this earlier in the season, of like re-skinning an enemy or an NPC, and then I will usually put that against you guys. Say it's say you fight a hill giant, just a hill giant. I've not changed it. I will see what damage you guys were able to do in the amount of actions. And even though it sounds like I'm having fun, my autistic brain is actually remembering how much damage you did and what you used. And then I'm basically, it's like automated learning, like machine learning. And then next time, I will reskin something with a higher... If it took you only 4 turns to take down a 200 HP enemy, and like seeing what you can roll on a hit dice, then I'm going to bump that AC up.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's the opposite. I actually need you to have something very weak to fight. It doesn't need to always be a challenge. Sometimes it's just fun to let the players hit something.
Yeah.
And so I'm always learning off what you guys did last time, rather than relying on this rating that's there you add this number but plus this number to equal this number. It's too mathematical for me. So to me, I'm learning from like practical stuff, and that's how I think about it.
And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with, this is for new DMs as well, there's nothing wrong with giving enemies extra hit points, as long as if you were just doing it just to try and make a cool fight scene, then maybe don't in those situations. Because let's say your player gets a nat 20, like when, for example, if my paladin gets a nat 20, he divine smites, he's using a magic weapon, the way we do it is doubling damage. So if we double that, and let's say I do like 80 damage in one hit or something like that, and that wipes the enemy out, don't always remove that, because that's such a cool moment for that player. Whereas if you, sometimes, you can think, oh, like shit, he's on 2 hit points now. Let's actually put it to, he had 108 or 88 points. He's now got 102 left, because you can now see the damage that they're doing. Then that's okay, as long as you're doing it just not to take away from the fun, but to make it more of a challenge, but not in a way that will kill them. Because if they instantly, let's say your player does that and they're about to instantly wipe out an enemy, and you think, fuck this, I'm going to give him an extra 100 hit points, then the enemy crits, kills the player. That's a fucking dick thing to do.
Well,
because
we'll think about this into the next question, and I'll give you my answer to yours.
Okay.
Is because obviously you're playing, in my game, it's fully sweat. It's fully difficult on purpose.
Yeah.
So the next question is, try to make combat fun. How do we do this?
Yeah.
When you, who is slightly a bit of a broken build in my game, roll that crit.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just kill the enemy immediately, right? And you go, of course I did, because I've got this broken build. When you don't do that, for example, against the hill giant, and he didn't know I had its higher AC in him.
I knew after 2 hits.
When he got a crit and it didn't, I literally saw him go. And if you're just listening and not watching this, I have just gone from looking at my own crutch to looking straight into the camera, because the fear in his eyes when he realised this wasn't just any hill giant. So it can work the other way.
Yeah.
But the point being is, it was such a pinnacle moment to do that, rather than whilst you're resting, 5 hill giants attack from the hills behind you. It wasn't like that. They were like, it was a standoff moment where he needed to win, and to give him something that's not an easy check, it made sense. So. Like we've said before on the podcast, that's how you make it fun, but it's like reading the room. When is it right to try something new? When is it right to break the rules? And they're critical moments to get that right.
It's like for that one, for example, because against a normal hill giant, it would have died. Against that one, it made it so much more cool that it didn't die and it wasn't phased. And I was just panicking because my character was trying to protect someone. It would have been bullshit if that hill giant turned around and then killed me, because then it's like you've scaled it too much.
Yeah,
like
even if I weren't on purpose, I've then unintentionally
done it to
played
win
against
kind of
you.
thing. Exactly.
And that's not what you're doing as a DM.
But that one worked so well, because even though towards the end he was about to beat me, it was always the intention that an NPC was almost there and would help.
Exactly,
so that worked.
I can't think of another situation where I would have bumped it so much to get that out of you, knowing that it was always a loss.
Exactly.
Like, you can't do the NPC comes in and saves the day too often. So
No.
it was a rare moment.
It worked well.
But those kind of things work. I think, like, for instance, you guys fought a dragon, which we talked about in the last podcast in the Blackshore.
Yeah.
And you guys did mad amounts of damage at the beginning, way more than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, like that whole machine learning mentality is like, right, I need the AC staying the same. What they don't know is the HP. And so I will raise that HP. It will do its attacks. It doesn't change attacks, but I will bring things in terms of the environment, or it will take longer for you to beat, and you'll run out of spells. You'll do, and then yes, it's a slog for you, but like you're also not taking more damage than you. I'm not bumping up the output. I'm just making sure that you feel like it was a challenge.
Exactly.
That, which is really important. It shouldn't be a win or a loss. It should feel like a challenge.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I know some people don't agree with this, but I think every campaign, almost every big bit of combat you get in should feel challenging, unless you're a level 10 character wiping out goblins. But if you're...
Yeah, and that's also okay. It's good to have things that they can just tread on them. Like, players should feel like at some point they've earned it.
They should feel like they're growing more powerful, because if you get to level 12 and then you go to fight a goblin and you've bumped them incredibly, so now everything is level 12, then it gets a bit to the point where, what are they leveling for? They're just always going to level with everyone.
Yeah, that's actually, we won't talk about on this, probably talking about rambling, but that's my issue with Elder Scroll games. That the difficulty just goes with you rather than like you don't.
You should be able to go back to where you started and look at all the goblins that you were scared of and be like, fuck
Go
you.
up to that Deathclaw and be like, remember me? And just fucking like swing him.
It's great. It's beautiful. I was going to say one more thing with that, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, I've not got the question on here, but what was I going to say? We'll go to the last question and then I'll think of it. Does there need to be a reward for every combat? No.
So, a lot of people will disagree with that, because I know we've had experience with players that want to know the reward before playing a session.
They will you'd be like, you put up a session and go, you're going to be fighting this dragon, and they'll message you and go, will there be a reward? And you go, there is, not for you.
Yeah.
Because you've randomly decided this imaginary thing is more important to you than spending time together having fun.
Yeah. So I'd say absolutely not. The more you add a reward, then the more exciting things you're going to have to build up to, and before you know it, you're giving out legendary items, because you can't beat any. Because once you get, let's say, a legendary weapon, let's say you get a legendary set of armor, then let's say you do that on their 4th combat, they're only level 2, then what other set of armor can you possibly give them that will make them turn around and be like, you know what, I don't need this anymore. So you don't want to do it every session, and you don't want them to be too OP, too rich. Like, if you're giving 1,000 gold per combat that they just find around, why would they be adventurers anymore? Why wouldn't they just go and buy a restaurant?
That could be done. They make profit.
Yeah. And you want it to be special as well, because if you give them a reward every time, it'll just, every time they get one, they'll just be like, oh great, and again, next combat. It's like,
I think we did talk about currency in an earlier season. And like in the Blackshore, we don't have a currency. It's teeth, which are literally like, if you beat someone who is of importance, you'll get their tooth.
Yeah.
And you don't all get one. One of you gets one usually, unless
whoever
it's like a big
gets the
fight.
last.
Yeah, and then there's bounties that come after you for it, and the exchange is in like, you might have a +3 great axe. You're swapping that out for something that might not even be worth as much as that, but you need it in the moment. And it's not because of difficulty, but it takes away. And what I really don't like as a DM, and actually, I remember my question now for combat is, when every time something happens, you can copy and paste the person who will just have the same. They're a real human being, but they've got a line of dialogue, and they'll just go, "Can I check them? Do I get gold? And if you remove the reason for them, the need to do that, if they don't have the gold, it doesn't work in every circumstance, but in this fictional world that I've got for the campaign, it does. they won't keep asking that really irritating question as a DM. You've built this entire world, you shouldn't have to keep answering that same question. And so what I was going to with the question earlier was there is certain people who will just go, do I have advantage? Do I have advantage? And it's absolutely fine to have advantage. It's absolutely... I mean, I've actually changed the rules so they can't just constantly keep asking that. But once again, they have it. It's the way they do it. Because if they're just playing to use the same line of dialogue, you're hoping that they think about combat differently.
Yeah.
So, and that's the kind of question is, how do we mix it up so players don't just fall into the comfort of doing the same things?
I think...
Big question, I know.
Yeah,
but
a good way to do it, and this might be a bit daunting for new DMs, add levels to your combat. So what I mean by that is, rather than just having a flat room, maybe you've got stairs going up to a small balcony or small rock area. Let's say you're in a dungeon. You've got some stairs going up that lead to a 10 by 10 foot wide opening. They can jump or climb down that as an action, or climb up as an action, jump down, just part of the movement. Maybe there's... I don't know, there's a ladder that goes up that leads to a 5 foot wide beam or something. Add elements to your battlefield that mean your players actively have to think, right, I can't just go behind him here because he could climb up this ladder, or he could go this way, he could sneak behind me, and in doing that as well, you may still get the players that ask for advantage, but they'll do that in a cool way. So let's say you've got a ladder that goes up to a beam. The boss quickly runs up there and a player follows him. Your other player might think, I'm not even going to try and attack him. I'm going to dash, get round to the other side of the beam, get up and trap him there.
Yeah.
So it'll just make your players... Any way you can get your character or your players to actually think about the combat and think about the environment rather than, I'm going to roll to hit and see what damage they do. Yeah. That can be incredible in any combat.
I think my biggest tip across D&D, thinking about it, I spend my time doing this in real life and in D&D, is... not my biggest pet peeve with humanity is people doing the same things, people being comfortable doing the same shit. And if I can get people playing D&D and not doing the same hit, because arguably unless they die, they'll be faced with the same options. Yeah. So if I, who isn't the character doing the same thing, can make them at least think about how they do that same thing in a different way. They might just go in with as a polearm master and hit at 10 feet, use Sentinel, do all this stuff that you don't need to know, listen to this as a first-time DM. If I can make them have to think about why they're doing it, or they can't just walk in and do that every time, then I feel like I've served my purpose of making their brain work. Yeah. They're not comfortable, they've got to question it. It doesn't need to be difficult, but you want them to not just say, do I have advantage? I just go behind, do I have advantage?
I think one good way, what I just thought then as well, if you want to get rid of the players that always just try and get behind and flank them to get advantage, add multiple enemies. You can weaken them all generally, but add multiple. And remember, let's say if their level 1 character's going against a group of goblins, which can be a threat at level 1, remember that and I think we mentioned this in our DM in NPCs episode, if we've done that already, I don't know, by the time this comes out. Anyway.
Yes, we have, yeah.
Yep. So remember that those goblins, while they're goblins, they might have families, they might be friends. So if you see all 4 players like pile on one of the goblins, the other 3 might not just sit back with bows. They're going to turn, see what you're doing, and think, "Fuck you!" Run in and try and help him.
100%.
And now they'll get advantage on you. So you've just fucked yourself by doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. There are certain enemies that actually have feats or traits, whatever you want to call them, that are like pack tactics, and they get advantage on things or work together. Yeah, like gnolls, or I think like knights captains. Yeah, but they might not have that trait in, for instance, a group of elves, but that doesn't mean that they're not existing things with minds, and so there's no way they wouldn't mix up how they fight. Otherwise, they're just going to be taking turns being hit.
Exactly.
And so that's a really good thing as a DM when you start. Think about the common sense, and they're not there to just be hit and then they move on and do the next thing. Everyone's fighting for their lives.
I think, exactly. I think that's the thing, and that's where we mention know your enemy, know who you're DMing. If it's a creature with an intelligence of 8 or higher, or even let's say 10 or higher, they're not just going to sit back and let the party pile on their friend. So if it's got lower than that, whether it's an ogre or a hill giant or something, they're probably dumb as fuck, so they don't realise. You can pile on their bloody wife and they'll just be like, what's going on?
Even things like, you'll get like insects, a little bug. You can have like a swarm of crabs. Obviously, it's a swarm of crabs because they're meant to be like a attack, like a stat block that come together and fight. But like some insects will just see another insect be killed and they all run away, and that's also absolutely fine. You're not there to win the fight. You're there to make people think.
Exactly. And remember, the enemies might not just want to kill. They may want to capture. They may want to just intimidate, scare you. So just like we said, know who you're DMing.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, we've actually done 25 minutes on this, so we really got in there, and I had some rants, so don't need therapy anymore.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself. And at least we didn't spend 6 minutes chatting shit.
No, well, we did. We spent 25 minutes chatting shit. Okay, today's adventure has sadly come to a close. We're back again next week with a topic. There are more than 300 types of sign language in the world, so which one is it that will make you understand to keep your cock away from the oranges?
I thought you were going to say away from you then. I was like, never.
And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at How to Play D&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. And for BTS of sessions, bloopers, blogs, early access to episodes, and even live Q&As, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/howtoplaydnd. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Lewis McCaffery.
Good day.
Goodbye.